Hello, 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 everybody. You know what time it is. It's time for the Nimble Urban Survivor with your host, me, Nick Catelli. Hope you're having a good month, good day, good year, good something. Before we get started, fake drummers, lead us in. Swish. Boom. That's what I used to always say when I would shoot a basketball in a basketball game. I would just go, swish, and one. And then I wonder why nobody wants me to play basketball with them anymore. I don't get it. But guys, welcome to the Nimble Urban Survivor. I'm your host, Nick Catelli. Guys, we got a good one today. This comes in from Cliff. Cliff says, Nick, I've been dating somebody for a month now, and things are doing pretty well. But last night, the person I'm dating cooked for me, and it was awful. It was terrible. It was a terrible meal. It was burnt. It was bitter. There's a long list. I'm not going to read the whole email because it's going to take like 20 minutes to read this. But this guy really goes on for like an essay complaining about how bad his meal was. And that makes sense to me because people, especially Americans, we love our food. We love our food. Don't we? And don't we still have like that primitive instinct about our food? Like we love good food and we will just eat mounds of it. But don't you get really protective of your food? Like, for example, obviously we live in this like weird civilized era of like iPhones and things like that. But like, let's say you're at a restaurant and someone orders like a plate of nachos, right? Like a big old fatty plate of nachos, right? Tons of chips, cheese, whatever. And you just randomly walked over to it and took a chip and ate it. They might punch you in the face. Like, people are still really weird and protective about their food. And I don't get that. But I get that. I get that, though. So how do you survive bad cooks? How do you do it? And I guess in today's episode, because obviously there's a lot of scenarios, like if your mom's a bad cook, relatives bad cook, but I'm going to focus today on like the dating aspect of bad cooks. Like, when you meet someone and you date them for a while and then they're like, I want to cook a meal for you. And this isn't, guys, girls, whatever, right? Like girls, you've had guys who've like tried to cook for you. They're awful, vice versa. Guys, you've had girls that have tried to cook for you. It's terrible. So how do we survive bad cooks? Because it really is a painful thing in society. Because, we have all these TV shows like Top Chef and Hell's Kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay has like 50 different shows, but it's all such gorgeous food. There's so much food porn on TV that nowadays we're so let down when we have a bad meal because the media has glorified food to the sense of like when you touch something to your tongue, it should be like you should get like an erection or something. That's how good food gets described now. Like back in the 40s and the 50s when people just ate food for energy. Like remember you just ate to live. That was the basic survival. Like here's your burger. Have here you go. It's minute ground chuck. I cooked it. Eat it up. Then get the fuck out of my restaurant. Right? Like that's what they used to do back in like the 50s and 40s. But now you go into a restaurant and food is so sexualized. They're like, hello, welcome to the Chateau Cavall. Tonight you'll be having a cheeseburger on a very milky plate. Your burger will be prepared by hand, beaten over and over and over again, crushed to a meaty pulp, and then simmered and heated inside to a cool, medium rare temperature. And I don't want to get you guys all like turned on with food porn, but isn't that weird? Like, food porn, remember when food porn was just a joke? You're like, haha, someone took a picture of a really cool plate of food. That's really funny. But now, like, no. Like, I think there's people out there who are like, well, I was going to date this girl, but I'm kind of fucking this hot dog that I found at the grocery store. Food porn's a serious thing. That could be its own episode, like how to survive food porn. But we're going to talk about how to survive bad cooks. Because that's such a letdown, isn't it? When you're dating someone and they're like, I want to cook for you. And then you have it and you're like, this is awful. And then you have to break up with them because they're a bad cook. And I guarantee, don't act like you've never done this. I guarantee we've all at some point broken up with someone over bad cooking. I know we all have. We all have. And I've had some people, like girls that I've dated, cook some terrible meals for me. And there's one that's always burned into my mind. And I'm going to tell that story here in a second. But isn't that funny though? How like I've had all of these amazing meals. I've been to Europe and France and Italy and Monaco and had food in some of the richest countries in the world. I don't even remember what the fuck I ate there. I think I had a pizza, but I will always remember the one shitty meal I had. And I remember I was in Chicago. I was dating this girl. I won't say her name, but she was awful. And I remember one night, she's like, Nick, I'm going to cook for you. And I was like, wow, this girl's going to cook for me. She must really like me. Like, she's going to cook a meal for me. You know, because that's the thing. Like, when your significant other who you're dating, like, wants to cook a meal for you, it's a very intimate experience. You know, they're making the food, they're preparing it. You know, it's things that we've been doing since the dawn of time, since Adam and Eve or whatever, right? So I'm a little excited. I'm like, wow, she's going to make a whole meal for me. This is exciting. So she calls me up before I was about to like head over to her place. So she calls me up on the phone and she goes, Nick, do you got a big pot? And I'm like, yeah. I got a big pot. Yeah, sure. She goes, because tonight I'm going to make you my homemade. Again, listen to that word, homemade, right? When you think homemade, you think, wow, that's really being made with extra love and extra care. It's made from scratch. It's like when you hear homemade, don't you think of like an old Italian grandma in Italy and she's like pounding the tomatoes with her feet and making the sauce all day. And she's like, mangia, eat, oh, Nicholas, your skin and the bones. I make this from scratch. It's a homemade, right? When you hear the word homemade, I don't know about you guys, but a little light bulb inside my head just clicks on. And I think of like there's like a little old Italian woman who's in there and she makes me a meal and then she goes and bangs Chef Boyardee. But she's like, I'm going to make you my homemade chicken and dumplings. I love chicken and dumplings. Very good Southern dish. I think it's from the South. I don't know. It's a good dish. I've had it. My mom makes it. Okay. Now here's the thing. Am I a food snob? Yes. I am, because I grew up with a mother who cooks. My mom is a very, very, very good cook, very good baker, very talented. So when it comes to cooking for me, I have high standards that were just built in from my childhood. So going back to my story, she's like, do you have a pot? I need a pot. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, yeah, I have a pot. I can bring a pot. Sure. You know, maybe her pot, she lost it or, you know, she threw it away or something. I don't know. I don't ask questions. So then I'm about to leave. She calls again. She goes, hey, Nick, on your way over, can you pick up a rotisserie chicken? Now I'm a little like, this is interesting. Okay, a rotisserie chicken. I normally don't eat rotisserie chickens. They're always really dry. I feel like the rotisserie chicken is like the bachelor's meal of choice. Like you get it for dinner and then you can like eat it for lunch or breakfast or for whatever. You know, it's like a rotisserie. You just rip the legs off and eat it. But a lot of rotisserie chickens, really, really bad. That's why they practically give them away at Costco. Okay. So I'm thinking rotisserie chicken for the chicken and dumplings. Okay, well, maybe she's spending a lot of time working on the dumplings. You know, that's what goes through my mind in this. Is I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's just, you know, spending a lot of time working on the dumplings, and they're probably like a family recipe, and she's probably like kneading the dough. I don't even know how to make dumplings, like putting the flour in, kneading the dough, the eggs, whatever, right? So I go to the store, I got my pot in hand, I buy a rotisserie chicken, okay? Hop on the L train, I get over there, show up, give her the pot, she takes the chicken. She then goes to the cabinet and pulls out like 3 boxes of chicken broth. You know what I'm talking about? You know, like you just go to the store and get like a low sodium chicken broth and it like comes in a box, like a container, right? So she just starts pouring that all into the pot, okay? And then she flips on the gas and turns it all the way up because she wants this to like start boiling. So as that's heating up, granted, again, store-bought boxed broth, okay? As she's heating it up, she starts taking the rotisserie chicken, ripping the chicken off of it. She was like ripping it apart with her hands. It was almost like I had given a chicken to a homeless person and they've been starving for 3 days. You know, like when like you rip a chicken apart. Like you ever been to like medieval times, or I think the Excalibur Hotel and Casino in Vegas has a like medieval show where they just give you a whole chicken and you just like shred it apart with your hands and eat it, right? Because they don't give you utensils. Well, I witnessed that. So she's ripping the chicken apart. Granted, remember, the chicken is cooked, and she's throwing it now in boiling broth, okay? Now, this broth, I mean, it's boiling. It's hot as fuck, okay? It's like, you ever see like one of those like James Bond movies where James Bond's like fighting someone in a kitchen, and the last thing he grabs to like kill the villain is like a pot of like super like hot boiling water, and he throws it in the villain's face and kills him? That's how hot this broth was. Like, it just wasn't boiling. It was like it had been to the surface of hell boiling, okay? She's throwing the chicken in. Now, I'm starting to put everything together here. I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense to me. Rotisserie chicken, boiling hell broth from Satan. Okay, well, maybe, where are these dumplings? Maybe they're like homemade dumplings. So then she's like, okay, now it's time for me to make the dumplings. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to actually get to see her make the dumplings. This is amazing. She goes to the kitchen, opens the door, and pulls out, I kid you not, a can of like, how do I describe these? You know those canned biscuits? You know, they peel it and then you have to like put a spoon in it and then they blow up or something because they've been like under pressure. And you're always kind of scared, right? Like you're always kind of scared to like pop it open because you think it's going to like explode in your face and take off your face or something. So she gets one of those, opens it up, takes a pair of scissors, not cooking scissors, regular scissors, like scissors that God knows what she's been using these scissors on to cut stuff with. Cuts the biscuits up in little chunks, throws them into the boiling broth. Those are the dumplings. I kid you not. Those are the dumplings. So this is her, again, homemade chicken dumpling recipe. It's just boiled biscuits, chicken broth, and a rotisserie chicken. She puts it in a bowl, gives it to me. It's awful. It's awful. Terrible. But you know, you have to do that thing where you have to pretend that you like it, right? We've all been there. Like, it's a horrible meal, but you have to be like, it's great. This is awesome. You did an amazing job. Oh my God, how has Gordon Ramsay not called you yet? You know, we've all been there because, you know, when you start dating someone, even if they like boiled you dirt, you still have to be like, this is really good, honey. Like, this is homemade dirt, you know, because in the real world, you would like to just be like, this is god awful. I can't eat this. This is terrible. You're a terrible human being. Why would you poison me like this with your horrible, horrible food? Well, good thing is months later, I would dump her. And I'm not going to lie. I think that chicken and dumplings, that was the turning point in the relationship. Because I was like, if she half-asses a chicken and dumplings recipe, a Southern delicacy, then she will half-ass a relationship for the rest of her life. Instantly dumped her months later. I think it was a month later. Thank God I did. Okay. But it's terrible, right? Because you're forced to eat that food because you don't want to disappoint them. And for a lot of people, you know, especially guys, they probably just want to get laid. So they'll eat anything and put a smile on their face, which isn't good for your mental health. Because let's think of it like this, guys. If we all agree to keep eating bad meals, you know, girls, if your boyfriend makes you a bad meal, vice versa, eventually something's going to happen. A food poisoning outbreak is going to happen. And people are just going to start dying left and right because they're too, you know, you have like a stabbing pain in your stomach, but you'll keep eating it because you're like, oh, I really don't want to disappoint her. And I really just want to have sex tonight. So I might be dying, but I'm going to continue to finish this meal. And then we have people like dying left and right. And I just watched that movie Contagion yesterday. And I don't even think there's a cure for food poisoning unless it's like Coca-Cola that's like flat, right? And some saltines. But that's what we're looking at. We're looking at like a pandemic of food poisoning. And people are just going to start, you know, dying left and right, vomiting, throwing up left and right. So people are going to die. The ones that survive are going to be like, I'm never going to date again because I don't want to get food poisoning again. And then people are going to stop dating, which means they're going to stop having sex, which means they're going to be becoming depressed and then probably die of depression. Also, they're not going to be procreating because they're not in love anymore, getting married or having sex anymore. So there goes the human population. It's gone. All because of we have to eat shitty food made by our girlfriend or boyfriend. And it's killing us. Well, guys, don't worry, because I think we have a good solution on how to survive bad cooks. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I know what a lot of you are thinking. You're like, well, you could always just, go get a meal kit, right? Those meal kits are easy. No, 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 no. I've seen people fuck up meal kits too. Okay, you can fuck up a meal kit. Okay, I know it's like really like you put it all in a pan and like stir it up and that's the meal. But come on, guys. Like, I don't know how much longer meal kits are going to be around for, but you can still mess those up. Meal kits, they're kind of like the Viagra of cooking, if you really think about it, right? Because Viagra creates this illusion that you're romantically, aroused by someone. Meal kits do that too. They create the illusion that you can cook and you're very good at it. But they're not. They're just a short-term solution that create a fantasy, an illusion, a lie. Viagra says, I can get an erection. No, you need a pill. Meal kits say, I can cook. No, you need a meal kit. Vice versa. Okay? Granted, people get pleasure out of it, but how long can the pleasure last until you're addicted to meal kits and Viagra? That's a whole nother episode in itself. Okay? In reality, in the United States of America, they should just pass a law that says people should learn how to cook. And if you can't cook and if you're a bad cook, it should just be like in a movie where like we find out you made a bad meal and then two guys in black suits with sunglasses just come in and they just escort you out of your kitchen. You leave and you're just never seen again. I mean, I know that sounds like a bad thing. Might not be such a bad idea. I don't know. Think about that. So how do you survive bad cooks? Well, here's step number one is don't eat the cooking yet. Okay. So if you're dating someone and they're like, hey, I want to cook for you, make up an excuse, any excuse. Say you're on a diet. I would say that's the best thing. If like, oh, I want to cook you my homemade lasagna. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a diet. Or maybe like I'm fasting. That's always a good one, like a religious thing. Like, oh man, I can't eat lasagna because I'm Jewish and we don't eat that because that's what Jesus had during the Last Supper and, we don't like it. I don't know. There's a whole list of reasons you can come up with not to eat something. I would go either the religious realm or probably the, I'm trying to watch my weight, but maybe in like a few months or something, right? Because here's the thing is you don't want to eat the cooking because when we get into these next couple of steps, you will put yourself in a scenario where your significant other who you're dating will turn to you and be like, well, you've eaten my cooking before. What do you think? And then you have to lie. And a lot of us aren't really good liars. So again, step number one is push off having their cooking. Okay, push it off, be polite about it. Okay, now step two, go rent a small underground warehouse. Because here's what you're going to do. You are going to create a fake underground cooking class. Okay? I've been to one of these. Like in New York or Chicago, it's like, there's like a little alleyway and you knock on the door and you go underneath and there's like a little, seafood thing and they're making shrimp scampi tonight. I've been to cooking classes with my wife. Like we've made like pasta before. Really, really fun. I got really, really drunk at that, by the way, because it was so boring. But step two is rent a warehouse because you are going to create a fake cooking class. Okay. Now, here's the good thing is when it comes to a fake cooking class is you don't have to go out and hire a bunch of actors to play like the other couples going to learn how to cook the meal. Just put it on Craigslist or put it on the internet and just say we're offering a free cooking class. Granted, you will have to pay for like all of the ingredients and, the cooking utensils and the stoves and all that. But you can just rent that stuff, right? Well, the food you'll have to buy, but I think the kitchen stuff, you can just rent that, like an oven. So that would be step three. Step three is then go out, rent all that stuff, rent some ovens, rent some stovetops, get some pans, spatulas, whatever, okay, to create a fake underground kitchen that will have this cooking class, okay? Step four is you want to go then hire an actor to play the teaching chef, right? So you just go hire an actor. He pretends to be a chef from a foreign country, Canada, Britain, whatever. If they can do a really, really good like French accent or Irish accent or something, or even Australian accent, just because I love Australian accents, do that, okay? And then what you're going to do is the next step is, put an ad out and say like offering free cooking class. We're making shrimp scampi, couples only, free, free, free. And then what you're going to want to do is when you're with your significant other one night, pull it up on your phone or your computer or whatever and be like, hey, honey, look, I just discovered a free couples cooking class. It's an underground thing. Ooh, this is so lavish, so cool, so neat. Let's take the class. Okay. And she's going to be like, or he is going to be like, yeah, oh, babe, that would be awesome. Let's do it. All right. So obviously, it's the night of the cooking class. Okay. And you're making the shrimp scampi. And what you're going to want to do is have your actor who's playing the head chef of the underground cooking class totally berate, insult your significant other's dish. Even if they do a decent job of it, you want this like pretend acting fake head chef to just rip into the dish. Tell them how awful it is. And if you need to like know how to do that, just watch Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, which is an amazing show, by the way. And just tell your guy, just be like, dude, be like Gordon Ramsay. Just tear this apart. Tear this apart, okay? And what's going to happen is your significant other is just going to get insulted, berated. They might start crying. And what you're going to do, okay, because I know naturally you think that like, oh, maybe I should just like side with the chef and say like, well, maybe you should cook more. No. Don't go that route. Don't go that route because then you're going to get dumped instantly. You are going to want to stand up for your significant other, okay? So let's say, for example, I'm with someone and the chef just insulted my date for the night. Here's what I would do, and this is what you need to do. You'd be like, hey, you listen up. Yeah, you might be a professional chef, but let me tell you something. We're going to go and we're going to take cooking classes, and we're going to get good, and then we're going to come back here, and we're going to shove it in your face how good we are at cooking. Now, you see what I did there? See what I did there? Is now you're getting your significant other motivated with anger to go and learn and train how to become a good cook to get back at your chef actor instructor that you hired. See what I did there? See what I did there? Now, let's jump back really quick. Because remember I told you at the very beginning of this not to eat their food? Because in this pivotal moment, this would be the moment where your significant other would turn to you and be like, well, Nick, you've eaten my food. Tell him my food is good. Tell him my food is good, right? And they put you in like a weird predicament because then you have to be like, yeah, it's great. And then they know you're lying, okay? So see how I don't put myself in that scenario because I never tried the food to begin with. Yeah. See what I did there? I avoided that whole situation. Okay. So then the next step, which I think this is step 6, is enroll your significant other in cooking classes. Okay. Because the next day, after the fallout of how bad they did to the cooking class and got berated, you want to motivate them to go train and learn how to be a better cook. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a financial investment because you don't want to be a dick and be like, you need to sign up for cooking classes and pay for it. You need to be the person, because if you really want them to cook for you and be a better cook, you need to pay for the cooking classes. I'm just saying, okay? So you come home, you got some pamphlets. You're like, babe, I got some pamphlets of these amazing cooking classes. I'm going to pay for them too. And then together, you can train to be an amazing cook, and when we can shove it down that cook's throat at the cooking class, you really are an amazing cook, even better than him or her. I don't know, whoever you hired, right? So, see, I've united you even more. Because see what I've done here? Because here's the big mistake that I think a lot of people make, okay, is that they're honest with their couples, right? Like they're honest with their boyfriend or their girlfriend about their cooking. They're like, it was good. I've had better. You don't want to do that because that'll just kill your relationship. So what I have done here, I have constructed what I like to call in the Nimble Urban Survivor, being somewhat of a semi-fake doctor that I am, a fake negatone placatory thinking scenario. That is where I have now united you with your significant other against a common enemy. Okay? It's kind of like, remember in Independence Day where they're all doing the Morse code thing and All the countries are like uniting, Germans, Japan, they're all uniting to fight the aliens. I've kind of done that. Like, you are two different countries, like, you're American, Canadian, whatever, right? And now you're taking on the alien. So I have connected you two spiritually and emotionally through a negative algorithm tone that I've actually designed myself here on the Nimble Urban Survivor. Now, I have to legally tell you that obviously I'm not a doctor, but I did create that, right? So maybe I should get like an honorary doctorates from like MIT or Phoenix College or something like that. So now you both have a common enemy that you have obviously, created, which is all fake, and a common goal which is to get your significant other that you're dating to now be a better cook. And they'll go and they'll take the class. And here's the thing too, is like, it's like Rocky. Like there's a training montage. You're taking the cooking classes. You're tasting the foods. They're getting better. You keep telling them, like, I don't know if you're ready yet. They keep getting better. They keep getting better. They keep getting better. And then, which takes me to the final step is when you think their cooking has gotten to the point where you're like, this is good. I can stomach this. That's when you move on to the final step. And you set up another fake cooking class. Obviously same chef, same actor, same location, whatever. And then this time you show up and then, you just shove it down the fake cook instructor's throat that your significant other is now an amazing cook and can easily, teach this class. And then you walk off into the sunset together and everyone's happy. Your relationship is saved. It never had to go through that rockiness of having to tell somebody that, they're a bad cook or waver on it. You have united against a common enemy, which I've talked about on this show a million times, is the only way we will ever be united is when we really, really just dislike someone or hate someone. Isn't it amazing, though? I see this all the time, how people can just be united, not by good things, but by bad things. And when I mean bad things, I mean stuff that we hate. Like, it just blows my mind. I won't get into a whole tangent there, okay? And that's the final step. And that's it. I think that's really, really easy. Like, that's a really, really easy process, okay? Obviously, don't eat the food, warehouse, you get all the cooking stuff, fake chef, fake class, berates them, you buy them classes, they get better, they go back, they tell the fake pretend chef that you hired that now they're better than them. Everyone's happy, okay? It's that simple. It's an easy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 final step process. I don't even know why people even hire marriage coaches or relationship coaches anymore. You should just come and listen to my show because I am saving the world right now. Tons of relationships probably just got saved after you've heard this easy solution, right? Now, there is something that can backfire here. Okay, and I didn't want to hide this from you guys, but there is something you should consider. There is a small, slight chance that your significant other could become a really good cook. To the point of where now they're at like a professional level of cooking, and their confidence is up, and it's way up. And this can get kind of messy. Because you could run into a scenario where they're like, I'm such a good cook now, and I proved it to the instructor. I want to give up my career being the CEO of a tech company and open up my own restaurant and cafe. Okay? Now, granted, is this your fault that you might have ruined someone's career and, made them now believe that they're a professional, real chef that could take on the, culinary world? Well, yeah, it probably is your fault. It's not my fault, by the way, because legally I didn't have anything to do with it, but it's kind of your fault, slightly. But that's how this can all kind of backfire on you, is they actually think that they're a really, really good cook, and then they try to open up a restaurant, which is kind of a nightmare, by the way. I would never try and run a restaurant or open one because it is just a money pit. I'd have no clue what I was doing. Okay, so that's one thing that could backfire, is they want to give up everything and open up a restaurant and have you run away with them to like Portland or something where I guess food porn is, galore. Okay, backfire number 2 is that they get so good at cooking that, somebody better than you comes along and tries the food and steals your significant other away. Because I'm not going to lie, like looks can be everything, but let's face it, guys, looks fade. Good cooking, that's forever. Okay? I mean, what do they say? Like, what's the path to a man's heart? It's through their stomach. Well, I guess it's like kind of true, right? So you do run that risk also, is that you might lose them to somebody else because they fell in love with their food, right? I guess my analogy for that would be is like if you were an ugly person and then you got like a makeover and some liposuction and some veneers for your significant other to look better for them, but then you attract the attention of someone hotter and you just run off with them. Kind of the same thing with cooking. Those are almost kind of like the identical things that can happen. Okay, so those are the two things that can happen. Now, if you want to avoid those things happening, those backfires happening, what you can do is, don't get them into a fancy cooking class, right? So like when you come home and you're like, I got the pamphlets, I'm going to pay for your cooking class. Don't pick like it's the crème de la la cooking class of French, or, it's the Italiano. I don't even know what I'm speaking gibberish, by the way. Don't get them a super fancy cooking class. Just get them like a regular cooking class. Like a cooking class you would take at Macy's, where it's like a woman who has a lot of hairspray in her hair and she comes in. And she's like, hey, everybody, welcome to the Macy's cooking class. Today, we're going to learn how to make chicken noodle soup and grilled cheese. So you almost want to pick what I would call, I guess, like a middle class, lower class style of cooking. Okay, so when you're scheduling the classes that you want them to take to beat the fake chef that you hired, I would go the route of more of, don't go out there and get them like the Maserati of cooking classes. I would get them the Chevy Spark of cooking classes. You don't want it to be too good, but you don't want it to be too bad, like right in the middle. You guys know what I'm talking about, okay? So that's how you limit those two backfires from happening, is that you just don't let them get too good at cooking. And I think you're really going to have a happy relationship. Obviously, your relationship is being held together by a, I guess, little white lie. That's how I would describe this, is a little white lie. Because I really do believe, it's just my opinion, that sometimes in relationships when it comes to food, we have to lie a little bit. We always lie when it comes to food. We lie when we have to eat our partner's terrible food and say that we like it. We have to lie to the waiter or the waitress when they ask, how is your steak? And obviously it's overdone and you want it medium rare, but you say it's perfect because we don't want them to go back into the kitchen and do something to the food like spit in it or poison it to get back to you. So we're always lying about food, but it's what keeps society from falling apart are the food lies. Food lies is what keeps mankind civil. Civil from the point that we don't revert back to being cave people. So think about that for a moment. Food lives save the world. Wow. I just expanded my mind. Just as I was saying that, I was like, oh, food lies are so important. Okay, so remember, if you ever want to be on the show or you have a topic that you would like me to talk about on the Nimble Urban Survivor, feel free to reach out to me via my website at www.catellicomedy.com. Guys, have a great month, great day, great year, great galaxy, great whatever. Remember, keep those food lies going. Keep the world going. Keep society going, okay? And I will talk to you guys later. And remember, survive out there.